Today we'll be showing off a beautiful 64 Grand Sport that belongs to my buddy Nathan. This thing's incredible. I remember seeing it for the first time and it was epic. 63 Corvettes are absolutely incredible. The design and everything else, and this thing is just it's like a beautiful car put on steroids. This thing is like Nathan said, this thing is not a show car. The thing is driven, but it also looks absolutely incredibly beautiful. The color is amazing. Follow the story, and please share and like, so I can get the story out there to everybody else. Okay, thanks. So, Nathan, thanks for showing me this awesome car.
No problem.
It's like, this is it, like the Zenith, the big one. This is it, right?
The Holy Grail.
Yeah, the Holy Grail out of the C3s, and supposedly now they're claiming that the new Zetor one's the big dog. But
yeah,
this was it for a long time, right?
It's a weird thing though. These old ones are. The old Grand Sport was kind of the highest dollar Corvette for
still to this day.
For the long time, and it kind of, I don't think, probably not until the last 30 years did really they get the attention that they deserve. But they are kind of the Holy Grail of the Corvette racing world, the what could have been car.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh man, again, I noticed the plate on the Camaro, Snake Eater. That's what this is called, right?
Well, I got two plates, so I only have it registered to this car right now. So yeah, they're a Cobra Killer or a Cobra Eater, and they did well doing that, surprisingly well, and they just never had factory support. They weren't allowed to because of that racing ban.
So what made you get into this one?
That's a very good question. This whole story of my life started when I was just young, like 3 years old, and wow. My dad was teaching me about, he was a Chevrolet guy, so it was all about which one was the best racing and performance wise, and a lot of people grew up, the AC Cobra was the halo car of all halo cars, and he's like, no, there's a car that Chevrolet built that beat it.
That's awesome.
And so he taught me about that, and then years go by and you grow up and started to get a job, make your own money, and he told me about Mongoose Motorsports.
Oh, your dad did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he said, yeah, they make a GM licensed replica. And I said, wow, that's really cool. But,
that's awesome.
How does a guy build one?
Yeah.
And, I didn't have any money to buy a kit, never mind put it together or know any bodywork.
Yeah.
And long story short, this one, by pure fluke, I found it on Kijiji of all places in Calgary. Yeah, completely bizarre. And and I messaged my friend Jared, who just happened to be in Calgary. I was here.
Yeah.
And I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm in Calgary. You want to go look at a car?" And sure enough,
wow.
He went and looked at it, and he said, "Yeah, it's the real deal. It's the Mongoose Motorsports Grand Sport GM licensed car." And I said, well, shoot, I guess I'm going to have to figure out a way to fulfill the lifelong dream of, never mind, I'd never even seen one in person.
Because how many years ago did you buy it?
I've had it for 10 years. It'll be 10 years in August.
So was it 10 years ago you showed up to the car show in Cold Lake? I remember that.
Yeah.
And you had it parked on the north side of Canadian Tire.
Yes.
Off to the side.
Yeah.
And I was in the parking lot, and I'm like, holy shit, it's a Grand Sport.
Yeah.
So I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the hell, right? I mean, of course, not knowing it's not going to be the real deal, because there's just, I don't think there's any up in Canada.
No. They're all in the States. There's 5 originals. Current valuations are just anybody's guess.
Yeah.
They said 10 million about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So add 15 years of inflation and whatnot.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I again, there's a few versions, but the Mongoose is pretty well the closest. And then actual GM body molds were used to make this one, and they use their own
4-inch tube chassis.
And what are those guys out of Africa there that do them? They have one as well, right?
I'm not sure about Africa. I know Superformance does.
Superformance does.
They do one, and Mid America. So Jeff Leach, he was doing them, and then D&D Motorsports did one for.
Okay.
They were maybe even Still, which is kind of the old Duntov spin-off company.
Okay. Yeah.
But their noses were not true to the original design.
Okay.
They came down quite a bit lower than the originals, and they did that for a reason. Because C2s have really bad front end lift.
Sure.
So they were trying to lower the aerodynamics
Man,
of the front end.
front end lift, that's the scariest thing you can ever. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had.
Oh.
Ugh, I had my 77 Trans Am and I was going down 660 and kind of by Glen, and we had a couple whoop-de-doos, and it was like I'm driving and it was the scariest thing ever. Like it taught me for about a month.
Really?
I behaved myself scared of crap.
Well, and we all need those lessons every now and again, right?
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Hey,
but
slow us down just a little bit.
Yeah, so it was all done. Stickers were all on it. They're ready.
Yes, it was completely built by a retired RCMP out of Cochrane, Alberta. He was the guy who,
Imagine a cop with one of the fastest cars around.
Yeah, so, and he got the rights from Mongoose to sell them and build them in Canada.
Really?
You can't import a completed kit car into Canada. You have to build it here.
Right.
So this one was built in Cochrane, and I bought it from the original builder. He campaigned it with Mongoose in Ohio.
Wow.
So for 09, 2010, and 2011, he went to what's called a run and gun. And that's where like Factory 5 shows up with their Cobra, Superformance. For
sure.
Mongoose, and all of them. And they kind of bring out this kind of nostalgia kit car, and he won it 3 years straight.
So this thing has an extensive history.
It's got some pedigree. Right? It's got some history. I mean, there's blemishes on the front of it from, he raced it at Race City. He raced it when Edmonton did the Indy track. Yeah. He raced it there. He set the lap record there with it. Crazy. He's done a lot with the car, but so I mean, it's definitely not a garage queen it's not show car quality.
You know what? With our roads.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I'm coming in, right? I mean, right now we still have 4 or 5 feet of snow. It's the end of March.
Right.
I mean, we only have a few months out of the year. I had a client of mine that had a 59 Vet, and he never washed it once. Show winner, he was too scared of getting water spots on it.
Wow.
So it was like a big model in his garage. So he would trailer it to our shop. He would get it ready for the show.
Wow.
And then he would trailer it back, and everything was it was a rag and a wipe, and that was it. And I'm like, what a shame, right?
No kidding.
What a shame. Yeah, it was funnier than hell with my buddy Scott Funk.
Yeah.
So he goes, Ben, remember that car you were telling me about, that 59 Vet? I'm like, yeah. He goes, did that guy sell it? And I'm like, I don't know. He goes, but there's a lady in my neighborhood that's driving this thing around. I think this is the first time she drove a standard. So she's like and grinding the gears. And so I called him up. I'm like, did you sell it? He goes, yeah, I sold it to a collector, and they're going to take it to the show circuit around the States and everything else. Well, I didn't tell him that this lady was grinding gears.
Practicing how to drive in it.
In his, cherry.
Absolutely perfect car.
Yeah, it was nuts. So.
No, the nice thing is you can drive this one and you don't have to worry if you get another, rock in it. It's just part of what it already is.
Yeah, man, that's just. So the diff is like independent suspension then?
Yeah, so Mongoose sets them up to run a fully independent suspension using mostly C4 components up front. And then, it's got a C4 base rear end, but it's got a built Dana 44 back there. And so...
So like pretty high, high gears, so there'll be, 411s?
It's got 411s in it now. I need to actually drop it a bit. I think it's because it kind of winds itself out in fourth gear pretty fast. So it'd be nice to drop them down to a 373 or even a 355.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when you get pulled over in a highway and the cop goes, why are you going so slow?
Yeah, right? In fourth gear at almost 3,000 RPM.
And it gets hot.
Oh, yeah.
I made it with my buddies. We had a yellow Trans Am. And we went from, I don't know why. He's like, my sister's going, she was from Yorkton. Yeah. And so we met her in Lloyd, halfway from Edmonton, for a visit. So we took his Trans Am 410
455.
gears.
Yeah,
And like
screaming.
4-speed, and we're like, "Arr!" We're doing, 50 miles per hour, and fuck, it was cooking in there. It
Yeah.
was like hot, right? So
Yeah, this one's doesn't have any HVAC set up in it whatsoever.
just a 4-gear, that's it. Just a
Straight steering wheel
straight
and a
up
chair.
mean beast the way they were.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, the RCMP built it, the retired guy, he built it to race it, and that was his primary use for it. So,
Damn.
he built a Greenwood C3 after he sold
Oh,
it.
is that right?
Yeah, and he actually wanted this, he wished he had this one back. He liked this one.
I'm not a fan of the Greenwoods. I mean, cool history.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, big wide C3.
Yeah, I mean, I love the history behind it.
Yeah.
But owning a car, they're just to me they're gaudy.
Yeah,
like I'm a vet guy through and through.
They're
So,
a bit
but,
over the top. I mean, these were over the top for C2s, but everything was kind of in a functional way, right?
Oh, this thing is amazing.
Right down to the hood. This was a 1964 Sebring change to the hood to try and alleviate under hood pressure and help with the front end lift as well. And these ones were basically trying to take all the heat out of the rad. These ones are just trying to let all the air out of the pressure from underneath the hood. And yeah, they tried
Just to keep it down.
Yeah, they tried all kinds of things. Yeah. These cars would actually, the originals, the real ones, would pull the front tires off the ground exiting a corner, which is unheard of in a road course car. So they didn't have steering. If you had to be going straight before you could open them up.
Oh man.
'Cause the originals are 2,000 pounds.
So when did they start? 63?
Yeah, so they are 1963s. They started with a 63. They used entirely lighter C2 frame. All original C2 were like running gear as far as the diff and all that. But they lightened up. They made the fiberglass super thin windshield, plexiglass rear windows, and they did everything as possible to make it as light because Duntov's target weight was the Cobra. So
Wow. Eh?
yeah, they were called the lightweights for all of the original inception. And
yeah, I mean, I loved the Can-Am racing, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those guys were sneaky, right? They would acid dip the cars or, make them like, 6 to 8 scale, right? Just
all kinds of different things.
Yeah, right? And they would try to get away with everything.
Yeah, racing was about bending the rules as far as you could bend them.
Yeah,
right?
Smokey Unique and
Yeah,
all those guys.
the big fuel line in the
That's
NASCAR, right?
Yeah. No, they were amazing.
Yeah, Smokey was incredible. Lots of good history there.
Crazy. So big block.
Yeah, this one's got he built it with a big block, so it's got a ZZ 502, and it's got a Richmond 4-speed manual.
You want to pop the?
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to grab that hood pin. It's a little bit. There you go.
Sweet. I'll just throw this on here, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So this whole entire livery on the car, every decal, every sticker, the paint, the stripe, that's all 1964 12 hours of Sebring.
Okay.
So
Really?
yeah, so chassis number 3 wore the number 2 on the door. I know it's odd, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But this was the Hammerhead paint job, the Champion decal, the Esso decal, the friction modifier under John Meekum, who actually owned three of the cars, 3 of the Grand Sports. So he was an Esso son of the exec or whatever. So he was big into racing and he bought all the cars and was campaigning them. And
damn, eh?
And yeah, so that's why this livery is kind of on this car the way it is. It's always been my favorite one of the Grand Sports. This one has, so.
Yeah.
But it didn't campaign originally with a big block. They didn't have them yet.
Right, they're
obviously.
all
So it had a 377 all aluminum small block with a really wild side draft carburetor setup, 4 Webers. And they were about, little over 500 horsepower. They were pretty unique design, but again, no factory backing, so no factory parts and stuff like that. So one day I might put an aluminum small block in it. I just not really sure if I'm going to go old school small block or a newer LS style one, but with the same individual throttle body.
Right, you can get those.
Yeah. They're. I mean, again, it's all about money, but you can get them and they're beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's the nice thing about the LS is the heads are amazing, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, you know your stuff. Oh, old school, as much as it's nice to have, I mean, you can't fight new technology, right? With how the heads flow. I mean, what, to get 600 horse is like nothing.
It's almost too easy,
right?
And you know, they start easy, they drive easy, they sip fuel when you're not on it. You know, they're really kind of a winner. But you don't want to take away of what the car should be too much either.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you can achieve the look, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you got your your side drafts or cross drafts, whatever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, something unique again to Grand Sports, and this is a very similar to the original design, is to make room in the engine bay. They moved the brake booster over into the driver fender.
It's crazy.
And then this is legit how they just had a basic flap for you to access your master cylinder and brake fluids for brake pad changes on the fly. Like,
that's unreal.
In the pits, it was just, you know,
what detail, eh?
Whatever they had to do to gain that little bit of advantage or sneak their way into a win or whatever.
So this thing has aluminum heads,
yeah,
iron blocked in. Right?
It's got aluminum rectangle port heads and, you know, a standard Gen 4 big block underneath of it, iron block. So it's got a bit of weight there to shave off if a guy put even an aluminum small block or an LS, and it would probably save about 100 pounds.
Which is, yeah.
This car weighs 2,600 pounds kind of as it is.
That's pretty good though. Like,
you know, with all the fluids in it.
Yeah.
So that's its wet weight. So it's still a very, by modern standards, it's incredly light. Most 100%. People have never experienced a car this light.
Damn, so that's a tranny cooler or a diff cooler or?
Yeah, this one is a diff cooler. Back in Sebring, during testing, they were breaking axles, and they actually were stealing axles from Corvettes that were parked in the grandstands for the guys that were just there to spectate. They went and borrowed. They didn't even know anyone. They just jacked one up, took his axles, threw it in the race car. Gosh. So to alleviate the temperatures which were causing the axle problems, they just got a little cooler, plumbed a couple lines in and a little pump. And
I didn't know that.
Rigged a switch into the car, and so that was their solution. This one doesn't have an axle heating problem, but to be true to the car.
Wow, man, but they were full of like pedal to the metal.
Yeah,
hard,
I mean,
right?
and to them it was just a car. GT40s were just a car. You know, it was all about being the fastest guy on the track. It didn't matter if you had to.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, you read all about about the history of racing. Guys used to race down in Europe, 24 Le Mans.
Yeah.
And they would try to get rid of the cars because it cost them too much money to bring them back.
Right, even if they won.
Yeah, even if they won. I mean, there was just a car that won.
Just a car, yeah.
Just a car that won, right?
Yeah,
so
they weren't really considered anything special.
No.
Because the next year there would be something newer and faster.
It was about budgets and about making it work. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine getting rid of a winning car just because you can't. Going to cost you too much money to bring it back. Well, that's what a lot of the GTOs, right? Same thing.
Yes.
Like the old Ferrari GTOs that they were like, nope. How much money do you have in your pocket? I'll sell it to you. Yeah,
we're on to the next one. And Enzo was always on shoestring budgets to make the next fastest car. So,
man, that's...
Yeah, now they're the most valuable cars in the world pretty well.
So what's next to fixing it up? Or
honestly...
You have to get rid of a few kids?
Yeah, this year I just plan on getting a brand new set of road course rubber for it. And hopefully... tidy up the rack. It's got a bit some play in it, and get rid of that so the steering wheel's spot on, and then I think we're good to go.
Nice.
You know, that's pretty minor for what it needs. It just it came with kind of a used set of scuffs on it, and they were finished. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So I'll buy a new set of tires, and then hopefully either Castro or else Fort Saskatchewan there at Stratotech. They're back open.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So there's a couple of guys that from the Alberta Corvettes that race there too.
Okay.
So, we'll see. We'll see what the schedules are like. You know how summer is. It just fills up fast. So.
It's bonkers.
This is kind of a spring and a fall race car anyway. I don't think you'd want to be there on a 30-degree day trying to race this. It'd be, that's just a very thin fiberglass firewall. All the heat comes straight into there.
It was like 10 pounds per race.
Yeah, right? Like it's hot.
Oh.
It's real hot.
So just heater, and that's all you've got in there, right?
Not even
that.
Not even that. No, I mean it's got nothing for HVAC. It's set up to run vintage air if you want, which would give you heat and air. But you know, he never even bothered because it's kind of a nice weather car day.
It's a purpose car.
So it's I mean, it's so low to the ground. You got to be careful where you drive it. Even ruts on the highway. If semi trucks have made too big of ruts, you'll feel your bell housing touch in the middle. It's that low. So.
But I know with vets I had a 78 and then later on put an 80 front end on it, and an 80 back end.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't getting enough air, so I made my own spoiler up front. And going down to the city on 97th Street when it was, my front end, like the whole thing was just bent, like just way too low, right?
Yeah.
So we know the pains as Corvette guys for sure.
This one's not too bad as far as that goes. I mean, it's got this chin spoiler, which is not a original item. That's something that the builder added for his racing, and it helped also with lift and to draw more air into the rad. But the bell housing where it sits is the lowest part.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Nice. So tell me about the Camaro.
Oh, interesting. So that one's 22 years of ownership. Again, this summer. I found it in Edmonton.
So you bought it when you were 10 years old or what?
Well, I wish, right? I was 20 when I bought it, so if you can do the math. But I'm the second owner of this car. I found it in Edmonton. Freedom Ford, of all places, put an ad in the Edmonton Sun. And I was telling you earlier, had my first oil patch job.
Yeah.
Always wanted a Camaro SS, and these were kind of the new hot ticket items, and I never saw one for sale until that day. And I saw the ad for it, and I drove to the city that night to cut a deal for it, and I had to wait 2 weeks for all of the paperwork to go through. Co-signing loans because I was too young and had no credit. And thankfully the old man stepped up, and I bought this with 3,250 kilometers on it.
Wow.
The guy traded off on a Lightning, F-150 Lightning. I have no idea why. This was still the faster vehicle then.
It's night and day. Like, never mind being Ford and Chev, but truck and a car.
Truck and a car. And he obviously ordered it. It's got, a bunch of special options.
6-speed automatic.
Yeah, it's got a 6-speed. It's got the first option in it, which wasn't standard for the SS package in '99. He did, I don't know, I had all the maintenance records, and he was over-maintenancing it like crazy. It was his baby. And I don't know, maybe he had a girlfriend change and the new one liked Fords. I don't know. Maybe
she couldn't drive standard, so.
Maybe, maybe. Yeah, he goes from a 6-speed manual to an automatic pickup.
Right? That's crazy.
But, so right now it's sitting under 63,000 original kilometers.
Wow.
The body is all original. There's really nothing cut up on it whatsoever. The interior is all original. I did update the gauges a bit. I wanted to go to a 200 mile an hour speedometer.
Okay.
So I did a complete gauge package and recalibration, but nothing that kind of changed the car at all. The rest is the same. And then it's heads and cam LS1 build. So, it's got some brakes on it. It's got some UMI suspension on it. It's got some, all the other bolt-on goodies that kind of go with all that stuff.
So you did heads on it, you said?
Yeah. So Texas Speed PRC Stage 2 heads on it, and it's got a BTR custom grind and a few other little tricks up.
It must rumble like nobody's business.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. When I haven't had it running for a few years because I did some Jessel shaft-mounted rockers, and it was a little bit overkill. So I'm stepping it back to BTR shaft rockers on a stock rocker instead of a full Jessel. But it's got some compression, it's got some lift, so it barks pretty good. It's got a true dual exhaust, which is rare. You know how F-bodies are. Third and fourth gens don't run true dual, they run a Y. But Kook's made a true dual exhaust for it, and it's pretty loud.
So from when you got it to now, like how much quicker is it?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure how much quicker it is yet. I mean, the average, I have a goal in mind of what it should be, but I used to quarter mile race it, so it's been to SIR and it's been around a little bit, and it ran a 13.4 at 108 on street tires and just a basic, almost pretty much stock.
So what do you think it's going to have now?
I'd like to get into the low 11s with it if I was to race it again. I'm not really sure how much more racing I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, just for the hell of it, right?
It's kind of just going to be a weekend cruiser car, and I gotta make it good for the family.
I know, right?
You know, they'll probably still find it too loud, and but it's a great car. It's a lot of fun. This car, when you put them on the highway, you put it in 6th gear, they just kind of quietly cruise down the highway, and they're
awesome.
lots of fun. You drop 3 gears and away.
Unlike this thing.
Yeah, this one's always in your face.
That's awesome.
Always.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So again, big part of your family.
Yes.
It's did the old baby reveal on this thing too?
Yeah,
right?
This one's become a big part of our family. So we had it in Jasper at our wedding. We've obviously taken baby photos, and our youngest daughter, when we were doing our reveal, we did the burnout right in front of the acreage here, and then the pink dust lit up, and we couldn't have been happier. And so yeah, now we have 2 daughters, and it's kind of been a part of all of our steps along the way.
Man, oh man.
So more and more of an heirloom part of our family all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, that's cool. Yeah, so this was like a total surprise then, as far as you getting it. Really?
I mean, the story gets a little bit more interesting, and I didn't buy it with just cash. I had a truck. So I had this special 2008 Boyd Coddington edition GMC 2500 Duramax diesel. So just before he died, he licensed Capital dealerships out of Regina to do 50 trucks.
Okay.
50 GMCs, 50 Fords, and then they did 15 lifted diesels, and they had to have all these specific parts to get the Boyd Coddington signature.
Yeah.
So Boyd wheels, Boyd badging, numbered dash ply, the works. The interior was redone, everything was done, and I bought this truck brand new, but it was sitting here. I never drove it. It was sitting here, and I only drove it on nice summer days because it was almost like it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too nice of a truck to put to work. So I said, well, if it's just sitting here, I should buy a Vet. So I tried to buy a brand new ZR1, and the dealerships weren't working with me, and that's where this came into play. Randomly popped that Kijiji search. I wasn't even really looking at the time.
Damn.
And the guy was like, "Yeah, I'll take that on trade."
What?
Yeah. And I was
obviously he probably knew what it was. He's a real car guy, so he probably thought, well,
yeah.
Gordon
I told
passed
him,
away.
I kind of told him exactly what it was. I told him, what it costs, and on, and we came to an agreement on, what it would be for trading into this car, and I couldn't be happier because I think this one definitely carries more value today than even a special truck does. But
I mean, trucks are trucks. I mean,
that's how people look at them too. Even though that was a special truck, nobody thought it was.
No, I mean this thing is special. Like
yeah. I mean, it's hard to drive. You can't really drive it anywhere without attracting, waves and thumbs ups, and the cops don't even seem to bother. They don't even seem to mind it, which is surprising. I thought for sure I'd have been
because they think it's the other guy.
Yeah, I don't know. The side pipes are pretty loud. I've had a cop right beside me, and taking off in Cold Lake and letting out the clutch, and you're trying to take it easy. But a 502 with side pipes is loud no matter what.
So cam wise, fairly tame cam or not?
Yeah, just the stock crate engine cam, and it. These 502s wake up a lot with a little bit of compression. If you add a bit of compression to them in a cam, they really like that. But it's a 500 horse. It actually makes more torque than horsepower. So it's 550 torque, 500 horse engine. Yeah, and
that's plenty.
On a lightweight
2,600-pound car.
Lightweight car. When the secondaries open up, you better know what you're ready for. So it'll get away from you pretty quickly.
So you've done nothing to the inside. Everything is still. That's the way you got it. And
that's exactly right. It's the way I got it. He put in the nice teakwood steering wheel. It's got the 5-point harnesses, and the seats are built for racing. Well, they're not really built to be original replicas or anything like that, but when you're in there, you know it, and you want to be tight in there, but it's very small inside. I've known guys that quite a bit taller than you or I, into that 6+ range, 6 foot plus, and they don't want to be in there too much. Their knees are up at their ears, right?
I know a lot of guys that think they want to get into a Model A or a pickup truck or a smaller.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm like, dude, you're never going to fit. Oh yeah, no, and then sure enough, they go look at it, and they go, damn, I can't fit.
Yeah, I love it. It's gorgeous, but I can't fit in it. So, and this is one of those cars where, if you were buying it and you were a bigger guy, you probably would think twice.
So what's the longest trip you ever done with this?
St. Paul, and you're ready to get out.
Yeah.
You are ready. You're done. I was taking it to St. Paul for my sister's grad at the time. So I drove it all the way there, and it wasn't super, super hot, but it was almost an hour. And of course you got to fill up.
Yeah.
It uses all the fuel in about an hour. And
14 gears,
yeah. 502 screaming at you.
That's crazy.
But you're happy to get out after that amount of time.
That's cool. Right on. Is there anything else you need to kind of tell us about this wonderful thing, or just kind of, that's pretty well, you got it all figured out?
Yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Grand Sport history itself on the 5 originals is fascinating. I think everybody who's into Corvettes should probably do some reading, do some research, check out what Duntov wanted to do with them, and some of the results that they saw in the first couple of years were impressive. They were the car that could have been. They never got that factory support. They had that ban on racing, and they just weren't allowed. GM actually crushed the 6th one that was sitting in the factory because the accountant said, "No, you're done." So there was a 6th one ready to roll out the door, and they crushed it. So
I was I think it's called Glory Days of Racing. I was talking to a guy, and I mentioned that to you. We're back and forth, and I asked his permission to use one of his photos, and he was at 12 hours at Florida, and that's kind of where he's at. And he goes, "Oh yeah, go ahead, use my pictures." And I have a bunch of scale models of the Penske cars and all
sweet.
that. And then I don't know how we got on a conversation with Grand Sports, and he's like, "Yeah, Buddy's got one," and right, and and he bought it for like not a lot of money.
Yeah,
Not a lot of money, and I forget a guy's name, but you're like, "Oh, that guy," right? And the guy says, "Hey, if you ever down here," he says, "Come on."
He's probably
come on down.
What was it, Bill? He's the engineer, an ex-engineer for GM.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember, but it was.
There's definitely that. I think that for once for sure in Florida.
Yeah.
The George Winterstein coupe, which didn't start as a coupe but ended as a coupe.
Okay.
That one's at the Simeon Museum in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
There was an ad in Hot Rod.
I want to go to that one of these days.
Yeah, there was an ad in the Hot Rod magazine for that car in the 71 or whatever for like $5,000. It's worth.
But still $5,000 back then. It's still.
Well, it's a chunk of change,
Right? 30, 40 grand. No,
and that was,
no
I think
more
that
than
was with the Traco 427. I can't remember.
Oh wow.
But
Insane.
yeah,
Insane.
But I guess if we could all go back in time, we'd have, Hemi Cudas and all the one-of-one cars, and
I know.
buy all the rare stuff.
I know. I say one of my second car was a '77 Hearst Trans Am, right?
Oh yeah, sweet
the
car.
old Bandit edition there.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I had. I had this short little Hearst T-tops that were like this.
Yeah.
And
Burt Reynolds' car.
it was just a car.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get the brand new Trans Am at the time, so then I sold it and back to the original owner, and I went out and bought a new Trans Am.
Yeah.
So and now you're thinking like, oh, what an idiot, right? So it's
That's kind of why this one, even though I haven't used it much for a lot of years, I had a lot of uncles, a dad that said, always regretted selling especially the first performance car that they had. And that was my first performance car, real performance car, and so that one I intend to keep forever and hand it down in the family, and
that's amazing,
that kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's interesting. You were talking about first impressions, like what got us into this, right?
Yeah.
So in your first episode, I think you said you were like 10 and you went for a ride, and mine was my dad's brother, my uncle. He had a 70 Nova SS with a 454 in it. And I must have been 7 or 8 years old. I couldn't tell you exactly. But I remember we went out on the highway in this car, and I'm sitting in the back seat. And from the back seat in the middle, you're a kid, and you're kind of floating around. You're probably not even buckled in, right? And all of a sudden, my uncle just lays into this thing, and it's like, I've never felt anything like that. And all I could see, he had an underdash bigger tack to, so he could.
Yeah.
keep track of the 454, and I'd seen this thing, you know, approaching, getting over 5 and over 5, and that was it. I was scared to death. And then, you know, all of a sudden the RPMs came down to that 3.5, you know, range, or just over the 3, and I'm like, my heart just, okay, now we're okay again. And then
that's crazy.
Turn around and do it all over again, scare me again. But that's my very first experience, which was, you know, after that you're hooked. I mean,
right, yeah. And then when I was a teenager, I was 14-ish. I knew a couple of guys that were just in their 20s, and you probably know Lloyd Cross. No. He worked up CNRL for years. When he was just he had a '66 Chevelle that he picked up from the States, and drove me home one day, and yeah, he was bagging on it, and I was like hooked. And then him and his crazy buddies got together, and they built a Volkswagen with a small block Chevy in it, with nitrous and all that kind of stuff. And it had those
another car you couldn't steer.
And then the only thing that could fit in the back was a Mazda diff.
Really?
So, but they kept blowing it out like you wouldn't believe.
Too much power.
And then, and again, this is back. Oh my God, this is like early '80s. And on the hood, they had like a van. You know, like the boogie vans. They had the air grabber scoops on. They had that on it too, right? This thing was the ugliest thing ever. Big Kragers in the back. And, And I remember going downtown Bonnyville, and yeah, he was just side like a go-kart, right? Just sideways all the time.
Oh yeah,
we're just flying around. I couldn't believe it. And the other guy had a '76 TA 455, and just this last year of it, and 4 gear, and it was a blast. So yeah, that kind of it's.
You know, cars aren't even fast by today's standards, but
no,
compared to what your experience was then, and you'd never, you know.
It's no different than, you know, people think the Hemis were so quick, the Road Runners.
Yeah.
They're all 13-second cars, right, you know, from the factory. Now they're a lot different, but not the way exactly. They were, right? So, but no, it's and horsepower back then was expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like late '80s. I mean, I spent a pile of money in my vet to get it into 13 seconds, low 13s.
Yeah, it took a lot of work, right? just to get there.
Just the heads and the port and polishing and working on it, and the pile, like it was I think it was like $1,600 back in the late '80s just to get the heads done. Like, you know, now you order them $600, and they out of the box they flow way better than those ever did, right?
But it's still, I mean, if you want to not have any other addictions, just get into horsepower in cars, right? You'll have no money for anything else.
That's okay, I guess, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's we'll see you out in the track with this thing then.
Yeah, well, hopefully a little bit of both, and we'll see how the year goes. There's a lot of changes coming up for us and the family, but yeah, it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be an interesting year, and I'd like to have that one back on the road and start putting some more kilometers on it. She deserves it.
Yeah, no kidding, right? What year again?
99.
99.
Yeah.
That's 64, you said? 60?
Just under 63,000. It hasn't even hit 63,000 yet. Damn. So, I mean, I've had it forever. It's always been properly stored and whatnot. So, it's super clean underneath that car. And
well, like my yellow vet, I bought it with 26,000 clicks.
Oh,
and
really?
I didn't want to break the 30 mark because it was like, you know, it was like I felt, so I tried keeping it, and my buddy's like, what are you doing? Just drive it.
Just drive it.
Just drive it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't matter, but it's all good. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that one's going to get lots of clips. Once it's back on the road, I intend to drive it as much as possible. We'll get some memories with our family because we can all fit in that one, unlike this one. You know, this one's been part of the family already, and, you know, we'll use it for rides too, but it's not nearly as comfortable as taking that one out. And
well, at least your ice cream won't melt in that one.
Yeah.
Taking for ice cream. Yeah. This one here.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, that's awesome. Cool.
You betcha.
Okay, thanks, man.
Thanks, Ben.
That was a lot of fun. Came back in a snowstorm last night, but it's all good. But yeah, stay tuned for the next find, and I'm gonna try to get a Mopar story out there for y'all. So thanks. Subscribe. Stay tuned.